Every gardening book ever written will tell you roses need full sun, 6 hours minimum, 8 hours if possible. And if your yard doesn't deliver that, most books will quietly suggest you try something else entirely. But here's what those books don't tell you. Some of the most breathtaking rose gardens on the planet are growing in spots that get only 4 or 5 hours of sun a day, against brick walls that never see afternoon light, beneath the canopy of old trees, in corners that most gardeners have written off for years. The gardeners behind those gardens aren't breaking the rules. They're using a completely different set of rules, because they know which roses were built for exactly this. Welcome back to Golden Age Gardening. William Scott here, and in this video, we're going through 10 roses, 10 specific varieties that not only survive in partial shade, but genuinely perform there. Some of them actually look better with less sun. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one belongs in that shady corner of your yard that's been sitting empty and frustrating you for years. Before we get into the list, if you find this useful, hit that subscribe button right now. There are thousands of gardeners watching this channel who share your exact situation, and new content goes up every week. Drop a comment below and tell us which part of your yard gives you the least sun. Let's figure it out together. One important note before the roses begin. Shade-tolerant does not mean no light at all. Every rose on this list needs a minimum of 4 to 5 hours of direct sun per day. Morning sun with afternoon shade is the ideal setup. Dappled light filtering through a tall tree also works. What these roses do that most varieties cannot is make the most of that limited window, and in several cases they reward you with richer color and longer-lasting blooms than they would produce in harsh, full sun. Now, the roses. Rose number 1, New Dawn. New Dawn is one of the most versatile climbing roses ever developed, and it earns its place at the top of this list because of what it can do on a shaded wall or fence that most roses simply cannot. Introduced in 1930, it was actually the very first plant ever granted a U.S. plant patent, which tells you something about how significant it was considered right from the start. The blooms are soft, blush pink, semi-double, and carried in generous clusters. They have a light apple fragrance, delicate rather than overwhelming, but present enough to notice when you walk past. What makes New Dawn exceptional for low-light situations is its extraordinary vigor. It pushes through conditions that would stop other climbers completely, reaching 15 to 20 feet and covering an entire wall with ease. It repeatedly blooms through the season, rather than spending itself in one flush, and its disease resistance is notably strong. In partial shade, the pale pink of the blooms holds its tone rather than bleaching out, which is a genuine visual advantage. The one thing to know, its vigor is real. Give it a strong support structure and plan to prune it with intention. A rose this powerful needs direction, not neglect. Rose number 2, Princess Alexandra of Kent. This is a David Austin English rose that deserves far more attention than it gets in conversations about shade tolerance. The blooms are large, deeply cupped rosettes in a warm, glowing pink, fully double with layer after layer of petals folding inward. The fragrance is strong and fresh, described as a classic tea rose scent with a hint of fruit, and it carries well in still air. Princess Alexandra of Kent has a very well-proportioned, rounded habit and is considered ideal for smaller spaces, including sheltered spots like a front porch or a terrace in partial shade. It reaches around 4 feet tall, making it manageable in beds where larger shrubs would overwhelm the space. What sets it apart for shaded gardens is its color performance. That warm pink deepens rather than washes out in reduced light, and because the blooms are so densely petaled, even a single fully open flower makes an impression. It's a repeat bloomer, giving you continuous color through the season, and its disease resistance is strong, which matters in lower light positions where airflow is reduced and moisture lingers. The consideration, it's not a large, dramatic statement plant. It's a refined, consistent performer that rewards close planting near paths and seating areas where the fragrance can be appreciated. Rose number 3, Ballerina.
Ballerina is a hybrid musk rose, and the hybrid musk family as a whole is one of the most underused groups for partial shade situations. Introduced in 1937, Ballerina produces enormous clusters of small, single flowers in soft pink with a clean white center and bright yellow stamens. Each individual flower is simple. Each cluster is extraordinary, dense enough that the whole shrub looks like it's covered in pink hydrangea heads when it's in full bloom. Ballerina is described as a heavily blooming hybrid musk rose with large clusters of small pink and white blooms, and it handles partial shade without reducing that bloom volume noticeably. The fragrance is light and musky rather than intense, but it's there, especially in the mornings. It forms a graceful, arching shrub around 5 feet tall and wide, and it's a repeat bloomer with strong disease resistance. Skip the deadheading in autumn, and it produces attractive small red hips that carry through winter. For gardeners who want impact without complexity, Ballerina delivers without demanding much in return.
Rose number 4, Zephyrine Druin. This bourbon rose has been the answer to the north-facing wall problem since 1868, over 150 years in cultivation, and still no one has found a reason to stop recommending it. That kind of track record isn't luck, it's proof. The blooms are deep, vibrant cerise pink, semi-double, and carried in generous clusters. In lower light, that color practically glows rather than fading. The fragrance is powerful and fruity, a strong, clear raspberry note that carries well beyond the plant itself. Position it near a gate, an entrance, or anywhere people regularly walk past, and it becomes a signature scent of the garden, rather than a background detail. It's a repeat bloomer from late spring through to first frost, and as a vigorous climber, it can reach 12 to 15 feet, enough to cover a full wall or pergola with real presence. Its most distinctive feature for a climbing rose, it is almost completely thornless. Training it, pruning it, walking past it, none of it costs you skin, which on a plant this vigorous is a significant practical benefit. In any shadier position, give it room to breathe and keep airflow open. Without that, black spot and mildew can become a problem. Rose number 5, Olivia Rose Austin. Another David Austin variety, introduced in 2014, and one that has built a strong reputation quickly for exactly the conditions on this list. The blooms are large, cupped rosettes in a warm, soft pink with a fruity fragrance that reads as fresh and modern rather than heavily old-fashioned. Olivia Rose Austin's soft pink color and fruity scent make it a favorite for shaded borders, and this compact, repeat-blooming rose adds color and ambiance throughout the season. It stays around 4 feet tall and wide, making it one of the tidiest David Austin varieties available. Its disease resistance is exceptional, one of the strongest in the Austin catalog, which is particularly valuable in partial shade where conditions naturally favor fungal problems. It blooms continuously rather than in 1 or 2 concentrated flushes, giving you consistent color rather than a dramatic peak followed by a long wait. For gardeners who want a modern English rose with proven performance in lower light, this is the one to start with. Rose number 6, Eustacia Vi. Bred by David Austin and selected as one of his own recommendations for shadier gardens, Eustacia Vi was designed from the beginning with disease resistance as a central goal. In lower light conditions where moisture stays on foliage longer and airflow is reduced, that built-in resistance matters more than it does in full sun. The blooms are ruffled rosettes in soft apricot pink with deeper coral tones at the center that fade outward toward the petal edges, carried on elegant red-tinted stems. In partial shade, those warm tones hold beautifully rather than bleaching. The fragrance is strong and fruity. It forms a bushy shrub around 4 feet tall and blooms repeatedly through the season. Introduced in 2019, it hasn't yet accumulated the multi-decade track record of the older varieties on this list. The early results across a wide range of gardens and climates are genuinely impressive, but if proven multi-generational performance is your priority, the longer-established varieties carry more weight. Rose number 7, Hansa. Hansa is a rugosa rose. If the spot you're working with is not just shaded but also difficult in other ways, poor soil, hard winters, coastal conditions, rugosas are the group that handles all of it without complaint, and Hansa is one of the best of them. The flowers are large, fully double, in a bold magenta purple. The fragrance is deep and spicy, with a distinct clove note that sets it completely apart from the sweeter, lighter scent of most garden roses. The foliage is crinkled and leathery, distinctive in texture and naturally disease-resistant in a way most modern roses achieve only through careful chemical management. It blooms from early summer through to frost. Leave the spent flowers in late season and it produces large, bright red rose hips that look spectacular against autumn foliage and feed birds well into winter. Hardy from Zone 3 to Zone 8. Dense shrub, 4 to 5 feet tall and equally wide. The practical note, that size and density is the whole character of the plant. It's designed for an informal flowering hedge or naturalistic border where it has room to express itself, not a formal bed where you need clean lines and restrained habits. Plant it knowing what it is, and it will reward you for decades.
Rose number 8. The Fairy. The Fairy has been a garden staple since 1932, and its reputation rests on a single remarkable quality: sheer, relentless volume of bloom. If maximum flower coverage in a partial shade position is the goal, nothing else on this list competes with it. It's a compact, spreading polyantha shrub, 2 to 3 feet tall and wide, with small, glossy leaves and enormous sprays of tiny, button-pink double flowers. A single stem carries so many flowers it looks like a full bouquet rather than a single branch. Those clusters cover the plant from early summer to the first hard frost, one of the longest blooming windows available in any rose at any light level. The soft pink holds beautifully in partial shade and actually fades faster in full blazing afternoon sun, which means a shadier position genuinely suits its color. It needs just 4 to 6 hours. Strong disease resistance, highly consistent year after year. The honest trade-off? There is almost no fragrance. For gardeners whose primary reason for growing roses is scent, this won't satisfy. But for maximum visual impact in a difficult spot with minimum effort, it's genuinely hard to beat. Rose number 9. Maiden's Blush. Maiden's Blush is an alba rose, and alba roses represent one of the oldest and most genuinely shade-tolerant groups in existence. Garden historians trace this specific cultivar to the 14th or 15th century, and the alba family itself predates that by centuries. These roses earned their shade tolerance through survival over hundreds of generations, not through a modern breeding program. It can be grown against a true north-facing wall. That puts it in a category very few roses on Earth occupy. It blooms once a year, a single concentrated show in late spring or early summer. The bush covers itself in full, densely petaled blush pink blooms that fade to creamy white at the petal edges. The fragrance is strong, classic old rose, and it carries across the garden rather than staying close to the plant. Gray-green foliage, nearly thornless canes, and it can reach 8 feet, making it trainable as a short climber on a shaded wall. Hardy from Zone 3 to Zone 9, with legendary disease resistance built through centuries of natural selection. The one reality? It blooms once. That show is genuinely memorable, the kind of bloom event that makes people stop and take photographs. But when it's finished until next year. Pair it with repeat bloomers that carry the season forward.
Rose number 10. Gertrude Jekyll. The World Federation of Rose Societies voted Gertrude Jekyll the world's favorite rose. Not a marketing claim, a formal declaration by the global rose community after careful consideration. And if you've stood near this rose on a still summer evening when the fragrance is carrying, you understand immediately why. The scent is widely considered one of the finest in the entire rose world. Powerful, perfectly balanced, a pure and deep old rose perfume that people specifically plant this rose to experience.
The blooms themselves are large, fully petaled rosettes in a rich, glowing, warm pink, deeply cupped, with the kind of form that defines what most people picture when they close their eyes and imagine a rose. It's a prolific, repeat bloomer from late spring through to frost, flush after flush of those perfect blooms rather than one early show that spends itself quickly. In partial shade, the pink deepens and takes on warmth that it doesn't quite achieve in harsh full sun. That color response in lower light is one of its genuine advantages in the kind of positions this video covers. It thrives on as little as 4 hours of sun per day and performs across all aspects, north, south, east, or west. As a shrub, it builds to around 5 feet. Train it as a climber, and it can reach 8 feet or more, giving you real flexibility depending on what your space requires. For fragrance, beauty, adaptability, and a track record that earned a world title, Gertrude Jekyll is the rose to build a partial shade garden around. One final thought before the roses go in the ground. The single biggest mistake gardeners make with shade-tolerant roses is treating shade as a problem to overcome rather than a condition to work with. Choose the right variety for the light you actually have, give it well-drained, fertile soil, make sure it has room for airflow, and resist the urge to overwater. Shade retains moisture longer than full sun positions, so roots sitting in wet soil will cause more damage than the reduced light ever would. Morning sun is always preferable to afternoon sun in these situations. It dries the foliage faster, reduces fungal pressure, and gets the plant's photosynthesis running at the best part of the day. If you have a choice between a spot with 2 hours of morning sun and 2 hours of afternoon sun, take the morning every time. Pair shade-tolerant roses with companion plants that share similar requirements. Ferns, hostas, and hellebores all thrive in the same conditions and can fill the space around your roses with texture and interest through the entire season without competing aggressively for the same resources. Which of these 10 varieties are you considering for your garden? Drop it in the comments, and if you already grow roses in partial shade, share what's working for you. Your real-world experience is exactly what helps other gardeners succeed in those tricky spots. If this video gave you the confidence to plant in that shaded corner you've been avoiding, give it a thumbs up and share it with another gardener who needs to hear this. Subscribe to Golden Age Gardening for more content built around growing beautifully in real-world garden conditions, not just the perfect ones. Work with what you have, plant the right rose, and that dark, forgotten corner becomes the most talked about spot in your garden. Happy gardening!